We went to war in World War II to fight for the freedom of speech. We didn't fight for freedom of speech of hatred. Many of our members, I'm the National Commander of Jewish War Veterans, and over 50,000 of our men died fighting for your right to free speech here now. I don't understand why you come out with such hatred.
Phil, excuse me, Phil.
Yes, Mr. Muhammad. Sir.
You make me sick to my stomach with that. Because at the same time that you were fighting, you were not fighting for the freedom and independence of black people. Soldiers, black soldiers in segregated companies lost their lives on foreign soil there, but would have to come back and fight just to get a bite to eat and not have to go to the toilet on the side of the road somewhere in the bushes. So you're nothing but hypocrites, and you won't pull that small-time stuff over on me.
Yes, ma'am.
When black people wake up and become intellectually independent enough to think for themselves, as other humans are intellectually independent enough to think for themselves, then the black man will think like a black man, and he will feel for other black people. And this new thinking and feeling will cause black people to stick together. And then at that point, you'll have a situation where when you attack one black man, you are attacking all black men. And this type of black thinking will cause all black people to stick together. And this type of thinking also will bring an end to the brutality inflicted upon black people by white people. And it is the only thing that will bring an end to it. No federal court, state court, or city court will bring an end to it. It's something that the black man has to bring an end to himself.
Get ready for power. Prince's Power Hour podcast. One, two, three, and
peace and blessings, peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum to the listening audience. I know it's been a while since we've last sat down and had a conversation and, really have taken the time to discuss so many pressing and pertinent issues that affect the world, the global planet, but in particular black people. No better way to come back than with my guest today. Before we want to go right into it, but I just want to say this real briefly. First and foremost, giving all honor and praise to the creator of the heavens and the earths, that great God for life that has been bestowed upon us, and that may we find our life worthy enough to be a believer and to be a faithful servant of Almighty God, and may we use our life to change the decadent society that we are currently up under. So that is my fervent prayer. I particularly played those two great ministers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad because my guest today, who has had a profound impact on me, I would put in that line of great orators. Though he doesn't call himself a minister, nor does he, position himself as most ministers that come under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad present themselves. But I think the greatest attribute of a minister of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, a teacher of truth, is to tell the truth. And I don't know anyone who does it better and more consistent than our brother, who has a platform that I've had the privilege and honor to be on multiple occasions, but more importantly, that my father had the opportunity to be on. So I'm so grateful for this brother for giving, especially in the latter years, my father the opportunity to record his history and to share a portion of his story, a small portion of it, but yet a very impactful portion of his story with our dear brother. He's been a friend to my father, a son to my father, a friend and brother, and sometimes uncle when he needs to be to me. friend to the family, but most importantly, a friend to black people globally. Brother Knowledge Born Allah, the host, the founder of Do the Knowledge radio show, my brother, my friend, my teacher in a lot of instances because he gives such profound information. If you ever seen one of his shows, I mean, he gives unadulterated truth. Without further ado, brother, I want to greet you with the greetings. Shalom alaikum, assalamu alaikum. Peace and blessings to you, brother.
Wa alaikum salam. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful, all praises due to Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. With many sparks of divinity throughout the timeless space and the eons of manifestation, in the personage of our father and mother, in the personage of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever, in the personage of Father Allah, in the personage of whomever is needed at the time. Sent to those who are in the most need. And as we have searched and surveyed the entire globe in the space of our circumambulation and circumnavigation, we find no one more fitted to be resurrected from a mentally, spiritually, emotionally dead state than us, the black people here in the hells and smells of North America and all over the planet Earth. It used to be just here in the hells and smells of North America, Crown Prince, but
yes, sir.
As we begin to circumnavigate, as we begin to interface, as we see whether it's in the physical space or the virtual space, we find no one more fitting of a need of a resurrection, a transformation than we, the black people, here in the hells and smells of North America first, and then all over the planet, and in some instances, all over the universe. So I'm thankful to be a cog in the wheel, and one of the greatest opportunities for that foundational space of reformation, that foundational space of transformation for the black man, woman, and child towards our righteous destiny. So I'm thankful to be here with you as well, who comes from a divine royal family, whom I love with a sincere and righteous love dearly for your contributions, in the aid in the reformation, in word and in deed, a strong, righteous family example of what we are to strive for in excellence, in stature, in economics, and in our cultural ambassadorship to the world. So glad to be here with you.
Yes, brother, it's my honor. I said the brother's a minister now. You heard that articulation and the profundity that comes from, and the weight of his words. He doesn't mince words. He does not speak a word loosely like his leader and teacher, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and those in the line of divine who have committed themselves to the proliferation of truth. Brother, it's so much that we have to talk about. You're here for a particular reason. You have a piece of literature that I had the privilege and honor to be a recipient of, as well as, we had a show some months back, discussing the book and going through it. This is a part 2, as promised. I have had a little absence, I've been on a hiatus, so to speak, really spending the last, it's been about 6 months getting the restaurant up and going up in Chicago and doing all those things. But now it's time to get back to the ministerial work. I mean, that's the work as well. Don't get me misunderstood. But like you said, we all got a responsibility and a duty And the law God, the Holy One of Israel, has put in each and one of our hearts a particular mission and calling. And we have to stay true to that mission and calling. We can learn and we should aggregate skills from various backgrounds and specialties. But the reality is it should be to amplify the purpose that God has put us on this earth to do and to fulfill, in particular in the cause of freedom and justice for our people. I say that because you, brother, have a special calling. You're a very unique brother to me, a very needed brother, a very special brother in more ways than one. I mean, even if you didn't do any of the things that you do as far as the radio show, the podcast, and your ability to connect so many of us together, your authenticity, the way you live your life, is emblematic of those who have preceded us, the spirit that this generation so desperately needs, that we yearn for, whether we are conscious or cognizant of it or not. You know, you possess a particular disposition, like that great man that you're wearing on your shirt that we led with, those spirit in which Brother Malcolm X and Dr. Khaled spoke in, that the spirit for the genuine, authentic love of black people, you know, that was put in their hearts by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, right? That spirit that makes you true to who you are. And so I only want to put yeast in your shoes, not to, you know, just make you feel good or try to build you up to the audience. But I genuinely want two things. I want the world, or in particular my audience, to know the meaning you have in my life, but the genuine spirit that you possess as far as the liberation of our people. And I want my audience to understand that as black men, as my father would always say, strong men don't fear strong men. And I think it's imperative that we lift each other up in that way, that we show the gratitude and appreciation for the efforts, for the sacrifice that is made in this mission. Because it's easy to be despondent. It's easy to be apathetic when it comes to the fight of our people, because guess what? You do not get any real pay, and I don't mean just monetary, but you don't get pay as far as even acknowledgement sometimes from your own personal family, let alone the people that you in service of. So I want you to know, hell, I know you've been to Chicago, to Atlanta, back and forth 1,000 times, but it's always good to see those little road signs when you're traveling from one location to another to say, this city is 30 miles away. You know, Atlanta's 30 miles from. So it's like, okay, I know I'm on the right road. And I just pray to Almighty God that, you know, my words is just a form of inspiration and encouragement to let you know, brother, that you're on the right road, excuse me. But again, if you don't mind, just very briefly, you know, just share with the audience, because I always want to, you know, engage with the audience as if it's the first time that they ever seen me, that they ever seen you. So just give a quick background about who you are, what you do, and the podcast that has touched millions of people. And I don't say that in a small sense, or, you know, to try to be grandizing. You've literally touched millions of people, you know, with the podcast. So, brother, the floor is yours.
Well, I thank Almighty God Allah for the opportunity to honor my mother and my father in that way, to honor my grandmother and grandfather in that way, to honor a legacy. You know, if I was to pick a religious or spiritual inclination, you heard it, you know, in a room full of wise men, we were all together and everybody was talking about their belief system or the way that they live their life from a cultural perspective. And if you noticed, if you recall, I didn't say anything. Right, everybody was going back and forth and displaying their wit and their vigor towards their stance. And they asked, they say, "Hey, knowledge, man, what you think, man? Make some sense out of this." And I said, "My religion is you." If you remember, Crown Prince, I pointed to every man in that room and I said, "My religion is you." My religion is you, pointing to them. So our oldest religion or spiritual system or cultural orientation is our family. In the Islamic tradition, they say none of you will truly believe until you want for your brother what you want for yourself. It's an adage that is timeless. In the Nile Valley, we say, I am because we are. I am because we are. So the cultural adage that is timeless is what is taken into account in regards to the zeal and the fervor in which we serve. The fervor and the zeal by which we serve. So the platform that was created 10 years ago now, if you could believe that, was created in ode and honor to the 30 years that had preceded it of working in the street in a person-to-person engagement space, in that space of reformation in regards to our people. From a youngster, following in the footsteps of my father and mother in the streets of New Jersey, in the streets of New York, and so many places, literally wherever their feet could carry them. I was in the womb of my mother, and my mother was still walking from New Jersey to New York, Crown Prince. Her and my father. Whether they took the bus one way and walked back the other way, or they walked both ways, it didn't even matter. Their relationship was one of transformative service. So I was birthed or incarnated into the physical realm with that inherent desire already being predisposed, already being agreed. And my birth story, one day, I get into that. My birth story is proof of what our lessons say of the job of the nurses, the doctors, the ministers, and the cremators. My birth story. So as the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught, that the precipice, and I'm paraphrasing, the precipice of how a thing comes into existence shows the diameter of the trajectory of that thing, how a thing comes into existence. How a thing comes into existence shows you its trajectory. So my coming into being was that of proof of who I was as we are and who our enemies are. Open enemies. And our secret enemies. You understand what I'm saying? So it's there. Like, if the Holy Quran is true and it says Shaitan is an open enemy, that is mind, body, spirit, and flesh. In spirit and in truth, you will see them. So in this holy month, Ramadan, our celebration for 30 days in this space, a lunar cycle, for the laborers, we know December is another month in the midst of the chaos and the confusion, and foundationally, this is how I was raised. And when you take on these things on yourself, I'm going a long way around the creation of the platform and my creation because they're intertwined. So describing the will and courage of my father and the will and courage of my mother is 3/4 of who I am. And that 1/4 is who I am and who I am becoming. With that push of the sum total of my ancestry. So again, my spiritual inclination, my religious, my cultural, my political, all of those things are centered around black people, centered around black family. The life affirming continuation of the most optimal representation of black family in spirit and in truth. So now that sounds audacious because even in the deepest recesses, based off the traumatic experiment that is called North America, this is why we call it the hells of North America. This is why we call it the wilderness of North America, because this is a trading post unlike the likes that we had never even seen. Even though we have circumnavigated the globe, this wasn't an unknown in that space. It was an unknown in the amount of treachery that would befall us here. So the insight in regards to that is something that we're taking into account. You know, our scholars have written books. I'm looking at one right now, Black on Black Violence by our great warrior ancestor, Dr. Amos Wilson. You know, for the question, what about black on black crime, right? So putting all these things together, excuse me, and having an understanding of what that divine purpose is, these destinies were intertwined. Physically, we were in the community and we were looking for a way to reach other people. And then I remembered the final call, right? I remember the 5% newspaper. I remember what the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey's movement had as a proper propaganda tool. I remember all of the movements, they had a proper propaganda tool. And I said, okay, if I could find a proper propaganda tool to utilize to tell our stories, then I'm going to approach it in that manner and in divine alignment. My ancestors made it so. In divine alignment, Almighty God Allah made it so. You understand? Like that ability to be able to walk into something and not even know how you're going to pay for it, not even know how you're going to do it, whatever the case may be. That's something. But your willingness to do, your willingness, excuse me, to be obedient to that particular call, something that pushed me into existence. So, 10 years ago, I was obedient. I got on the phone, I called Black Dot, peace and blessings be upon him and his royal family, and he was like, let's go. I called a couple other people, and I wanted to approach it with a research sort of question. And that question was, what is consciousness? So if I could get a functional definition of what consciousness was, then I knew exactly how I could have to navigate the process of consciousness. And before I got to the research question, I remembered that we would go to events and places, and I would watch these beautiful lectures and all of that. But before a lecturer spoke, before anybody spoke, they gave an opportunity to pull the audience, to have the people who were there with their talents and skills and gifts and share the opportunity for them to share what they do. So there were plenty of people who were able to feed their families based off of that circulation, who wasn't there as a lecturer, who wasn't there as a presenter, who wasn't there as a speaker, who wasn't there from a practical space in that regard, but their value was associated with what they did. So if you needed, to learn some martial arts or whatever particular skill, there was somebody there based off of pooling the audience that could help you. If you needed a plumber, if you needed some cable, whatever you needed, somebody was there in that space because they gave them an opportunity to do that. So I said, this is something that I've seen and witnessed physically. Why wouldn't I incorporate that virtually? So virtually, the first part of the show was for people to call in, because we were utilizing that feature. People would call in and say, hey, I do this and I'm here, blah, blah, blah. Or how can people get in contact with you? Oh, blah, blah, blah. And that was the precipice. So now, this was first. So people from different organizations, different walks of life, all had the opportunity to promote themselves and their business and their brand, have you're acculturated with that. And next, it was an opportunity to deal with the topic. So the topic was this research question, what is consciousness? And brothers and sisters from everywhere called in and gave their perspective on the research topic. And we had a fruitful dialogue. And then after that, the saga continues. I'll get into more detail on that in regards to the books, but this wanting to have a space that represented the best of our people in the virtual space. So the opportunity to hear from our greatest, our best, and our brightest, and to give a voice to the voiceless, to reach into the void with a microphone and give an opportunity for God to speak in that way. So that's the short version of Do the Knowledge Radio's epic opening, and continues to serve. And I brought that up because we met that way.
Sir.
You and I, we met that way, and I am so thankful for that opportunity to be a beacon of light for our brothers and sisters via Mauritania and the awesome, audacious team that was surrounding him at the time with Voice of Zion Radio. Voice of Zion Radio was near and dear to my heart because I considered myself pretty studious in regards to knowing the different organizations in regards to the representation of our people around the globe. And when I was introduced to the Moray and we began to dialogue, I was like, wait a minute. I think I got robbed out of some information, because I'm like, how has this been going on for 5 decades and I had no clue about this space of repatriation, and we're working actively seeking proper repatriation models. And we have one of the greatest models right here. How come they aren't telling this story? I said, oh yeah. So if I could get a morsel of that, right? If I could get a crumb of that essence right there and capture it, when we start talking about repatriation models, when we start talking about separation or death, we start talking about separation is better than prayer.
Come on.
We have the practical models of divesting right here in front of our face with communities that have done it and know about this place like a fantasy. You understand what I'm saying? I was like, This is remarkable. This is beautiful. So there was no way in the world that I could allow this story not to be told. And in the process of allowing that story to be told, we linked together in divine timing in this dispensation of time once again. So, honor and praises due. I'm glad to be a brother of yours. and the Son of our Father. You know what I mean? And from that service, the one of the most memorable moments after, so many, was when your family stood up as the family. And then when he asked for the extended family to stand, and I'm like, okay, it's going to be me and a couple folks. And the other half of the place stood up. Yeah. And that was the people who could be there at the time, at the appointed time. Yeah. Not the rest of the city.
No, sir.
Interfacing with the rest of the city for the rest of those days, but particularly that day. Yeah. Particularly that day, seeing, the family come out everywhere, seeing the city come out. Yeah. It was a beautiful experience. So one of those remarkable times that had I not been obedient enough to answer that call, we would have met under other circumstances, Yeah. So that's my short answer, Grandpa.
Yeah. You spoke well, brother. And I want to give it right back to you. I would be remiss if I first don't thank you for taking the time to come see our father in his homegoing service. But I don't want to minimize it by just reducing it to a homegoing service. It was so much more, right? Like you said, when you were able to spend time with your family, though these people didn't share the same direct biology as you, they all shared the same love and the same attraction and connection to this man, and the same feeling that he gave them, he gave you. And when we were able to communicate about how the Prince was able to make us feel, and sometimes that can be marginalized. But when you got a brother that can make you feel the Spirit of God, the Spirit of truth, the Spirit of boldness that puts in your heart to do things that you would not do otherwise, that can inspire you to reach a higher form of thought and action, that's not a small thing. And to share those experiences and to learn about different aspects and facets of a man. And listen, I tell people all the time, I say, whatever you study the most and what you feel so passionate about, that's how I feel about my father's life, right? That was my field of study that I said that I would make my own. I wanted to know the man. And then I learned that I would know the God and the Spirit that made the man, that could make me if I was obedient to that process as well, which goes for all of us. So again, I just want to thank you for that. But you said something as you were expressing your beautiful story and starting this medium of delivering the truth to our people, and do the knowledge radio. When I just something that seems so simple but is so profound. Do is an action verb. It's an action word. To perform, to instruct, to act, to produce comes from doing. Knowledge is something not just to express wisdom or to show that you are familiar with something, that you're knowledgeable of something, but knowledge is to bring news or something new to the forefront. So your action of bringing something new to our people, or showing them where we should look or what we should pay attention to bring into public discourse individuals or groups of individuals that we were unfamiliar with, that could help aid and assist or teach or guide us or bring us closer to our own purpose, our own life's mission, to help give clarity to things that we may have not fully understood. That's what you were doing, brother. And that's an extension of the work of God, in my humble opinion. So that I had a question, and I'm going to give it right back to you because I want you to speak on the book, what we came here to do, right? You know, me and you get together, we'll start going down the road of pontification and elucidation that can seem to be off topic, but everything is in line, right? Everything is real, so teaches the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. how do you accept new ideas without changing who you are? It's by first knowing who you are, right? When you know who you are, new ideas don't change who you are. It elevates or assists what you already do. And information that may not be necessarily needed to integrate into your own personal life, you are made more aware of it. You know it's out there, but you are intelligible enough to know that that is something I don't need to be doing based on my own life trajectory. But to know who you are, brother, can be a very difficult thing. I think you see where I'm going with this. A lot of us don't have the environment, the cultural, social dynamic to mature into our purpose. We don't have enough examples of people who have found their purpose and can help cultivate us in ours. And so we go on these journeys where we start to try each and everything, right, to see what fits us. But in most cases, it does so much harm that it disfigures our spirit and our identity and our nature to the point where we can't even look at ourselves in the mirror and see who we truly are, which is, again, emblematic of the condition of the black man and the black woman, in particular in America. But like you said, the opening is verifiable across the planet for us who've been maligned by enemies, acculturation process. You, brother, as you made mention to the beautiful story of the influence of your mother and your father, your grandparents, and all of those spiritual mothers and fathers that you have been blessed enough to integrate into your own life's journey, has paid it forward by creating an environment where you were able to give us examples of people who are in their purpose to help kind of guide us, on these worlds of despair and kind of, give light to the abyss that we find ourselves in. What would you say, as we segue right into, I think, our main subject, what would you say was the most impactful that's going to be kind of, that's such a, maybe could be a hard question, but I'd say this because I'm thinking about my own self. How am I going to kind of, distill it down to one thing? But what would you say is the most impactful thing that you experienced that when I am in my purpose, like I'm doing what Almighty God has made and formed and fashioned me to do? Like, when did you know, brother?
That's a beautiful question.
Thank you.
Because as we were walking together, I was like, oh yeah, he about to drop me off right here. Bat, here we go. My birth story. My mother sat us down on a few occasions, but the first time that my mother shared with me my birth story, it was an eye-opener out of this world. And if, y'all go on my channel, y'all can hear it from my mother herself. Y'all hear me in the background. But my mother shared my birth story with the world. The entire world knows my birth story because my mother shared it by design. So if you don't know your birth story, similar to if you don't know your birth chart, you don't know who you are. You're here with the information that you are programmed with in third dimension and the genetic programming that you are coded with, you don't have access to. So when my mother sat us down, I have 6 siblings, the 7 of us total. When she told each one of us our birth story, there was a charge that was associated and a reminder that we have a life that precedes this life in the physical realm and a life that awaits us on the other side of the transition. So when she sat with me and she told me my birth story, and she told me the situation surrounding my birth, and the situations with the hospital, and the situations with the doctors, and the interorientation that they brought to her on behalf of my life, and what my life was worth in their eyes versus what my life was worth in her eyes, and what it meant to me to be mother, to graduate, to ascend from daughter to sister to mother. And the promise that she made Almighty God Allah, if God would allow her to be mother, what she was prepared to do, who she was prepared to become, and what she was willing to sacrifice to walk in that ascension. So, my mother sharing my birth story with me, the first couple years of my life, all of those things that happened, and everything that she gave so that I might have life, is the greatest defining moment and the greatest fuel that I don't care how bleak it looks. I don't care how grim it looks. I don't care how dangerous it appears. I don't care how frustrated I become. I could never abandon this post that I assumed. I could never not walk my posts in the perfect manner, keeping always on the alert. I could never falter of taking charge of my post and all Black Nation property in view. I could never not be in that space diligently, based off of the interface that was shared. So if you don't share the birth story with your children, they won't remember who they are. They won't remember who you are. So in that set of circumstances, when she shared my birth story, when she shared how she came with my name, all of these things were orientation tools that were utilized for me to have an understanding of who I am, where I come from, and what the mission was. So I didn't have to go and look in the street. I didn't have to go look in the street tribes. I didn't have to go to school to hear an amalgamated, butcherized, fallen state version from my enemy about who I am. So any juncture, like you said so eloquently, Crown Prince, when that foundation is there, when that foundation is strong, when you know who you are, that trajectory that you're on versus the trajectory that you have to go on to find yourself, because you will find yourself, so as to life. You're on a different trajectory than one who has to find it, who has to search for it. And I did some soul searching and finding, indiscriminate to the foundation. Different schools of thought, different organizations, different fact-finding missions, different journeys, all kinds of things to have an understanding of the dynamic of how to relate to my brothers and sisters who are encased in this beautiful black flesh. So my fact-finding mission, after knowing who I was that day, rededicating my life and my service to my purpose on the planet for the liberation and salvation of black people, wherever I found them and whatever I found them doing. So that point became the point of my greatest love and my greatest heartache. What's that adage, if it's true? To whom much is given, much is required. Is that what they say? To whom much is given, much is given. The requirement is not to squander that which you have been given. To whom much is given, much is given. Who are you to be given much? Who are you to be given much? The trader made an inter-orientation saying that they would receive more gold for their labor, more than they were earning in their own country. And all it took was the introduction of more to bring about a dissatisfaction. You didn't even think what you were receiving was much, Crown Prince, until somebody introduced more or somebody introduced less. We're going to take some of this or we're going to give you some more. All you have to do is this. So now the variance becomes where you assign value. And my mother, God bless her, may Allah be pleased with her, gave me an assigned value and a reminder of a charge, because we know each other long before the physical incarnation. The physical incarnation is circumstantial, yet appointed. But we've known each other long before then, and the decision to incarnate at that particular time, in this particular line, at this particular dispensation of time, was appointed by design. So knowing these things and being reminded this is where the story of physical incarnation begins. If we don't articulate the story, we don't give honor to the wombs that bore us. So that defining moment could be a foundational moment for me in regards to, and is a defining moment for the catalyst where the work began. And that was a moment.
I'm over here, brother. I have to put it on mute because you be hearing, amen and teach all day. But I'm over here and listening to you speak, and I'm almost certain that the listening audience would agree with me. You have to reflect on your own life and your own journey. And it makes you come face to face with aspects of your own life that hopefully that you can identify that has molded you and sharpened you idealistically to the man or the woman that you are destined to be. It has put you, and I'm quoting the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan when he was speaking about the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, on the perpetual road and path of truth. The truth that I speak of is the reality of how our individual purpose meets the collective purpose and consciousness of our people. It brings almost tears to my eyes, and I'm not being hyperbolic, brother. Hearing that which we all have experienced when you love black people the way that I believe we do. That, like you said, the same thing that'll make you laugh or make you cry. And, in this journey, you will do some crying, whether you do it publicly or privately. But the raw emotion that is expressed when you have committed yourself to such a bold and audacious task generates certain feelings and raw emotions that it's almost impossible to keep from coming out. But you pay homage to those who preceded you, who have given their life as a sacrifice so that you can be in that position. And when you spoke about your mother, brother, I seen my mother as clear as day. I lost my mother at a young age, but Allah is the best of planners, and so he does not give you a burden that you cannot handle or carry. And when I go back and I reflect on what I can remember she had shared with me, but more importantly, when I look at the reality of her life and the decisions that she made and how everything she was doing, brother, was to prepare me for this day. And that must be honored in the way that we live our life. The sacrifice is in vain if we do not commit ourselves to the purpose and the idea and the mission and the identity, in using your word, that they had established for us, that they had wanted and desired for us, that the continuation of their commitment is actualized through our life. And so I shared at my father's homegoing. Damn, brother, it's supposed to, I don't want to talk, man, but you bringing it out of me. I promise I just wanted to listen to you. I said at my father's homegoing. Yes, sir. That something he shared with me and I shared with the audience, and I think about it often. He said, do not do what I've already done. You got that, and I'm paraphrasing my own self, you got that honestly. He said, do what I didn't get a chance to do or what I didn't finish. Make that your own. And it's like, as the scripture says that the harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. We're not really in competition with no one, There's enough work to be done for all of us. We don't have to fight for work, but it's the quality of work and the genuineness of what we are doing and the work that we are producing that must be held to a certain standard, because it is that standard that allowed us to be here. If my mother didn't commit herself to the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and see the spirit of Allah in him and those brothers and sisters in the Nation of Islam, she doesn't put herself on a journey where she would come across a Hebraic brother named Prince Asiel, who she too seen the spirit of Allah in him and was able to get past whatever differences that they perceived to have and then come together long enough to produce a child that his sole purpose and mission would be how to contribute to the redemption of the black man and woman. And how would he align themselves to all of those men and women who are genuinely committed and dedicated to that same purpose? So that he, like you said earlier, be a cog in the wheel of progress towards our freedom. That's a hell of a sacrifice and a hell of a mission. But it's all in its divine order. So with that being said, brother, hearing your words, it was cathartic and it was therapeutic because we're having conversation that majority of us, at least publicly, don't have, but in our hearts, we're always having this dialogical conversation, even if it's with our own conscience. What am I doing? How am I doing it? Is it really redemptive? And how can I improve myself in a righteous manner? And that conversation, if had, because that's the essence of what we're having, how do we help ourselves, help our people, and how do we help each other, help our people, right? How do we share our gifts and our talents, right? How do we see or focus on our similarities and not our dissimilarities and use that as a factor to divide and keep us perpetually conquered because we don't understand the power in our unity. So teaches the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. I look at, and I'm giving back to you, I look at Trump's cabinet, right? And whatever you feel about them and whatever you feel about all of them, but I see Elon Musk, I see Tulsi Gabbard, Bobby Kennedy Jr., on and on and on. If you look at a year and a half ago, at least publicly, and obviously, but publicly, they were all supposed enemies with one another, right? They all had dissenting views and they all had their own objectives and agendas and they had their own program. But over that time period, whatever external force or enemy that they agreed that was greater than their disunity allowed them to have the consciousness to come together and say, we can function together and go further. As the African proverbs say, we can go further together. We want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go further, go together, right? Let's come together. Let's do whatever we do. No matter how nefarious and insidious it is, they learned how to work together. How the hell we can't do so in righteousness? We all say we want freedom. We all say we want justice. We all say we want to have a world that we can determine for ourselves, our future and the futures of our children. So why can't we work together? And so your life is a testimony, brother, of how to, like the Quran says, be that bee that goes to each flower and gets the best of it and extracts the best of it. You've done that with those men and women that you've connected with. A lot of people who publicly say, why are you talking to that brother? Or why did you talk to that sister? It's like, because I see God. Yeah, their online persona may be one way or their public persona may, but I see God and I know the genuineness of brother and sister. And it's enough of that in them that we can be able to push ourselves forward. And you've done that with myself. And I try to take that same position. Hopefully I'll be an example of that. But I say all that to say is that this ebook that you've created is a living document, even though it's in digital form, of that reality to me, because you have accumulated and aggregated the stories of great men and women who may seemingly have various backgrounds, but all on the same mission as a collective front of freeing and ameliorating black people's condition, not just here in America, but throughout the planet. And so we discussed it before, but I want to go into the subject, brother. why did you write first, what's the name of the book? What's the intent of it? Why did you write it? And where we are now in that process?
Excellent question. I'm glad you got this platform, because you got the questions that bring out the blessings. So we're in the holy month of Ramadan, right? So Ramadan Mubarak to
Ramadan Kareem. I apologize for not saying that earlier, brother.
And to the believers for who are endeavoring in this last 10 days of this arduous journey to have their sacrifices be received by Almighty God Allah, right? It begins with a book. It begins with a book, right? Islam in that particular region of the world, like one of the most heinous spots on the planet, right? Begins with a book to a man who's not literate. As the Islamic tradition would purport. Angel Jibril comes to Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and says, Iqra bismi rabbika al-a'la. Read in the name of your Lord. I know some folks, they got recite, but if he was there to recite, he wouldn't have no issue. You could say something to someone and they can repeat it back to you. Iqra bismi rabbika al-a'la. Read in the name of your Lord. So if we look at commandments, if we look at the Holy Bible, it says be. That's the greatest commandment, right? It says be. Be. Now, whatever the instructions are after that, they are secondary or subsidiary to what that commandment is. Be. So when you look in the mirror, are you following that commandment? Be. God told you to be. God looked you in your face and said, be. So Ya Rasulullah said, read. Read. And as the story purports in the tradition, he says, I am not a reader. And they said the angel Jibril squeezed him, hugged him tight. And he said, read again. Iqra bismi rabbika al-a'la. Read in the name of your Lord. And he squeezed him again. He said, I'm not a reader. And thrice, or the third time, he said, Iqra bismi rabbika al-a'la. And he said, I'm not a reader. And he squeezed him again. So, in that process of hugging him, he put the words of the book in him. He didn't have to physically look at the language it was revealed in to read it. He put it in his heart, put it in his head, and he would come to see him with different revelations, and he would receive it mouth to ear in the space of the scribes, and he would repeat it back to the scribes and have the scribes repeat it back to him. And it would have to be word for word from what he received to what he recited. So this is where recite comes from, because his recitation was there to the scribes. So the loose word, they would say, oh, it says recite in the name of your Lord. No, it says read in the name of your Lord. You read it in order to recite it. You cannot recite what you don't know. So you have to read it and study it, read it and study it, and read it and study it, look it up, do some research, and take it from the process of information into knowledge. Because, Crown Prince, they be using my name in vain. They would say, knowledge is nothing if it's not applied. No, knowledge is knowledge. Do you understand the process that you have to go through in order to take something that you are informed about to become something that you know? What can you apply that you don't know? So that means all of the doubt, all of the skepticism, all of these things are gone. If you know self, you are following that commandment of be. We said when Allah makes a decision on something that says be, and it is. Kun fayakun. Be. And it is. So what are you becoming? And is that something that is to be fruitful? And is that something to be multiplied? So when I looked at my examination in this self-assessment in the space of personal inventory, I am because we are. So I said, where's the reminder of who we are? What are we becoming? Is it something that is fruitful and something that needs to be multiplied? And I said emphatically now, Cypher, right? Emphatically no. Then I'm like, oh, I beg your pardon, sir, I never heard of one. So when I looked at us in this state of what is acting other than self, and then there was a reminder of what is his own self. We go back through the process of reformation. We go back through this process of reformation, and this book was able to reform a despised and a rejected people. So back to the books. If it could take a man who didn't know how to read and imbue him with a power to go to a people, we have to have an understanding of what was in front of him. He lived in a place, for all intents and purposes, that was the trap house. He lived in a place that was the trap house, where there was a different God worshipped every day. So he was in the trap house where all of the people in the region would travel to the place, to the festival, and to the marketplace in devotion to the deity that they align with. 360 of them according to the lunar calendar. Muhammad had a difficult decision. He was in the trap house and he controlled the circulation of the trade routes to and fro. And he had a benefactor that was bankrolling him because he had a mind and the spirit that was trustworthy and yielded a prophet to everybody that was there. He had to go back to them same people after meeting with the angel Jibril and receiving this revelation, after he came to the realization of who he was, because he thought he was spooked out. He ran up out of the cave. He went home to his wife, and he went to his wife. His wife was Khadijah. He said, I'm bugging out. He went home. He said, baby, I'm bugging out. I seen something in the cave. Had me tripping. And this is the power of mother, right? She looked at Muhammad in the state that he was in and reminded him of who he was. She walked him by the hand to her cousin. And she said, yo, cousin, listen to this. And Muhammad said, yo, I met with this dude, and he said, oh, yo, you a prophet. He didn't leave the cave already together like, oh, I'm about to go on this mission. He had to be reminded by people that he trusted and people that he loved about who he was going to be and what came along with that now. So he went to the people and was like, hey, yo, y'all trust me? They're like, yeah. He said, if I was to tell you some people was coming over this joint to wreck us, would y'all trust me? They're like, yeah. So he warned them about an impending doom that they could not physically see if they continued on the path and trajectory of what they were doing. And so he called for a reformation. They said, oh, Muhammad, you bugging. You got to get up out of here, fam. You got to go. You messing up the trap house money, fam. Hey, look, we messed with you, but you got to get up out of here. So he left Mecca and went into Medina. And in Medina, they're like, who this cat right here? So they, was checking him out, checking his references, and he stayed there. And in that space where he was the least likely to succeed, they sent him over there because they was like, oh, they're about to take care of our problem for us. He built the army. And he went back and took Mecca without having to shed any blood. They said, oh, yo, homie came back deep with them cats from Medina. And them cats from Medina ain't play no games. They ain't want no smoke with him. He's like, all right. So I'm relating this story because this is a story of triumph. But it's not a story that's laid out like, oh, it was just Shazam. There was some work that had to be done. There was some toil that had to go into it. And our trajectory in regards to our life, in regards to our purpose, in regards to our sojourn, in regards to our relationship with our Creator and our mission on the planet is the same. So the purpose behind the books, they serve as a reminder. We were taken from a place. We were removed from the centers of power. And we went from the voice of the world to the voiceless of the world. So a reminder that our voices exist as what my platform, as what the mission of our people, they're intertwined in regards to the books. So in the process of writing the physical print books, I needed to see something completed as proof, because you said about the trajectory to know that you're on the right path, right? As proof, as further evidence that this is something that is needed. So this 10-book series, Voices of the Diaspora, serves as a reminder of who we are and more of a reminder that we're on the right path into who we are becoming once again. So the first 6 volumes are complete and they are in circulation. They are not 700 pages. They are short. They are actionable. They're practical. If you have a phone, if you got a tablet, if you have a laptop, if you have a desktop, whatever device you have, as long as you can connect to the internet, you can see them. And they're written for you. They're written for you with you in mind. They're written for you even if you have never known anything about yourself. They're written for you in a way that you recognize color, picture, music, all of these things. They're written about people you know, and more importantly, they're written about people that you don't know. To show you in every single facet of area of people activity that is actionable, that is practical. After you're done reading, researching, and studying, you have action steps to go do. You can go get started. I read plenty of books that are good theoretically, but practically, there's things that are left to be desired. How can you get started today? How can you get started right now? So I still remember that in the mind. So in the mind, it's like, all right, if B is the commandment and read is the commandment, there's action steps. God requires you to do something after you're told. And then there's an instructional manual for you to do now. So it becomes incumbent upon you after you say something for you to do something. They say the Kalimata Shahada in the Islamic tradition, the declaration that you make to come into the fold of Islam, is twofold. Well, it's threefold, actually, they say. They say it's a statement of the tongue, a belief in the heart, followed up by bodily actions. Statement of the tongue, belief in the heart, followed up by bodily actions. So when you say something, you do something. If you said that you did something, somebody is going to be looking for some proof. True indeed, God got to show them proof. You understand what I'm saying? So that becomes a thing right there. So on this journey to write these other textbooks that I'm still writing, I needed proof of concept that something could be done and completed, so I can continue on with the motivation to complete these textbooks that I'm writing, right? So these 6 volumes that are currently in circulation, the 7th is still in production. This 10-book volume set is digital encyclopedias with action steps that we could utilize and resources that we could leverage to build up and transform from a nation that is not desired to a nation that is required. So if I could show volume 6 real quick.
Please.
I could show volume
bring
6.
that up. I was just thinking, it's a word that's associated with knowledge. I mean, grip. I'm gonna share it to the screen.
Okay.
But as I said, that you grip, and that's what knowledge. Knowledge, when you have a grip on something, on information, on pertinent information, it grips you in return, and it possessing you, it produces something, right? It should produce a change, a growth, an evolution, an elevation, and so what you put in these informational, transformational literary devices together, brother, you are concretizing the culmination of your life and the life experiences of those who preceded you in a digestible form for the generations to come. So I thank you. Let me put it on the screen. Can you see it?
Look real quick over here. Yes.
Okay. So it's up there. I can yeah, I think you want the people to see it in its totality. So I'll keep it on the main screen. That's fine?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. And you said this is
So
book 6.
This is book 6, right?
6. Okay.
6 out of 10, right? Reclaiming our narrative to empower Black minds. We in a reclamation space, Crown Prince. See, last time I was on here, this wasn't done yet. So I read a little something out of, off my napkin. You know what I'm saying? Off my napkin, and put it in circulation. This volume was done completely by me. The previous volumes were done by my great brother, D. Banks of D. Banks Design. He did an amazing job with volumes 1 through 5. I'm forever grateful to my brother for his mind, his work, and his spark in regards to reforming and reimagining what I had in my imagination. It wasn't something that I could calculate. Volume 6 is... Let me see something. Get this right. Volume 6 is dedicated to the reclamation of our narrative, the reclamation of our story, the reclamation of our say in the world. So reclaiming our narrative to empower Black minds, because you might hear a term like hearts and minds and not understand the psycho-spiritual ramifications of what it means to have a hold of one's mind. So either you're mindful or mindless. So I just want to go through the volume very quickly and let you see the imagery. So looking at the mass media manipulation and its hold on our black mind.
Yeah.
So these images, they're to enthrall you, to shock you, to see, to let you see these things and for context. Again, short volumes with strong images for people you can go and research. So it looked like a book, it feel like a book, but you don't have to carry around 6 volumes in your satchel. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
You didn't have these, in your phone.
Well, brother, it's definitely a gorgeous book. The images are beautifully and meticulously put together. It's a bright book. It definitely, like you said, enthralls you. The color palette catches your attention and captivates you. And we haven't even got to the actual content of it, which is, and I can bear witness to the previous volumes. I haven't got volume 6 yet, but 1 through 5, that every word is strategically and beautifully placed and sequentially follows one another in a way that enlightens the reader from the youngest to the oldest, So, man, this is beautiful, brother. This is absolutely beautiful.
So I want to show one more thing if I could.
Yeah.
I'll show you what matters most to me.
Okay. I'll bring it back, the screen back to you until you find that. Or do you want to keep it on the book?
Yeah, keep it on the book real quick. So it's easier for me to navigate. Now, I want to show you what tomorrow looks like for us with our young people when we give them the right charge. So these are the daughters of our king of Hiningsu giving their feedback on Voices of the Diaspora Volume 2, dedicated to the black woman, dedicated to our mothers, dedicated to our wives, to our sisters, to our nieces, to our cousins, to our daughters. This is them. Let me know if you see it.
I do.
Okay. So these are my nieces, right? Like your daughters, Crown Prince, my nieces, The reason for my rifles and my bayonets and my machetes and all that, you understand? So this is them giving a short and powerful look into Volume 2. So I want to play this really quick. And I'm taking them on the road, Crown Prince. You understand what I'm saying? I looked at them like, man, come on. You understand what I'm saying? Like, trying to get me all choked up. You understand what I'm saying? Because, a daughter bring it out of you. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Like,
sir.
so
Every single time.
every single time. There you go.
Hello, I'm Lamza, and this is Kim. Today, we will be reading Voices of the Diaspora, Volume 2, 100 Inspiring Black Women Who Changed the World, by Knowledge Born Allah.
Introduction. Welcome to Voices of the Diaspora, 100 Inspiring Black Women Who Changed the World. This book is a celebration of the remarkable achievements of Black women who have shaped our world through their courage, innovation, creativity, and determination. From trailblazers who broke barriers to modern-day heroes who continue to inspire, this collection of stories is designed to educate, motivate, and empower the next generation of women to pursue their dreams and make a difference in the world.
Chapter 5, Leaders in Science and Medicine. The contributions of Black women in science and medicine have been monumental. This chapter celebrates the achievements of those who have pushed the boundaries of knowledge and improved healthcare for all. Dr. Rebecca Lee Crumpler was the first African American woman to become a doctor of medicine.
Okay, so what do y'all think about the book Voices of the Diaspora, Volume 2, 100 Inspiring Black Women Who Changed the World?
I think it's a good book if you want to get information about history.
Okay, good. Okay. Do you recommend it? You think other people should read it? Okay. Anything else? Good job for making the book.
Thank you, Baba Knowledge Born.
Come on.
That's beautiful, brother.
What else I need to say? You understand what I'm saying? Look, let me tell you something that I know to be true in real life. Mm-hmm. Black women ain't gonna lie for you, and they ain't gonna lie to you. You understand?
No, sir.
Especially young black women. The children, if they ain't like it, they'll be like, I don't know nothing about none of that. You understand?
That was absolutely beautiful, brother. Man, you most certainly have to take them on the road with you, brother. That's what it's about, man. To empower the next generation with the real facts, so to speak, with truth that empowers and not disempowers them, and that gives them the wherewithal and the courageousness to be imaginative and to be explorative in every field that they can conceptualize, and even be bold enough to venture off into the unknown and see what they're able to unearth, And what I mean by unknown, those parts that this world tries to shut off because it doesn't fit their paradigm or their objective or agenda. But there's so much of God's of creation and universe that is yet to be explored in a holistic, Afrocentric way, in a Black empowering way. So, brother, we've been on for quite a while, and I could go forever. But as we wrap up, I want to give it to you. Tell us where we can order the book, how we can support, and where to find you, how we can support, and where we can purchase the book from.
Well, I'm thankful for the time that you carved out. I know you taught and you spoke today. You understand what I'm saying? Doing the work, and I'm thankful for the time that you set aside here with your brother
Yes, sir.
to allow me to pontificate over here.
Yeah. No, it was an
So
honor.
I'm thankful to you. I'm thankful to your listening audience. I'm thankful to all the people who have tuned in and people that will tune in. May Almighty God continue to bless you and imbue you with the strength, motivation, and intestinal fortitude necessary to share your story, to share it true, to share it authentically, without cut, in a time where realism is the order of the day. So, not something that's real, but it's real-ish. To be real-ish nowadays, is the order of the day. So thankful to have an opportunity to come here. And they can go to my website, throughtheknowledgeradio.com, and purchase the ebook series, at full price. But for the rest of March, it'll be a special. And for April, it'll have its own special for the month of April as well. So for the month of March, they can get all 6 volumes for $31 directly from me. So if you go on the website, that deal isn't available. So either through PayPal, paypal.me/Do the Knowledge Radio, or Cash App $, for Allah, you can get the books. You put in your email address, and you'll get all 6 volumes. Get all 6 volumes for $31. So great opportunity to be able to share and allow this transformative experience to sort of take place. If you don't have the articulation to talk to your families, your loved ones, your study groups, your political education classes, your before school, your after school, your weekend school spaces, your family time, if you want something that's dynamic, that'll bring your family closer together via doing this sort of research, each person is a curriculum all to itself. Each person, your entire family. Like, you have 6 volumes to be able to go look at. You can look at these movements. You can look at any of these individuals that resonate with you. Y'all could do family projects. It's about to be spring break. If you want to do something dope with your family in regards to going on a fact-finding mission, something y'all could work on together, these volumes are there. If you want to gift them to somebody because you love them, if you want to gift this to a young Black person because there's no stimuli out there for them to gravitate to that's of worth or value except what the ish society is making attractive and palatable and profiting off of, right? One of them said, they said, talent or issues. They said talent. And the reason why they said talent, this thing said talent, is because he said that he has a family to feed. So he's feeding his family off of the degradant, perpetual degradation of our family. So if you go to them, you're going to get nothing. He loves the devil because the devil gives him nothing. So if you want something to redeem and reclaim your value and remind you of who you are and whom you come from, these volumes are there with that express purpose. And it's a investment that will aid us in our continual filming of this documentary, Voices of the Diaspora, 1 million Black stories from around the globe. So Our charge and mission is to tell 1 million black stories from around the globe in the most authentic manner. 1 million. So if one of those things are correct in regards to our less than 4,400,000,000 all over the planet Earth, I can get 1 million. I can get 1 million black stories told properly, without any of this undercurrent that's currently being served, this trick knowledge diet that's currently being served, because it is a diet. You are dying to see it, and you're dying from its consumption. You're not living. You know, the messenger gave us how to eat to live. So we can no longer continue to expect our enemies, as my General King Samir Shabazz says, to feed us and fight us at the same time. So we utilize these spaces in order to be a reminder that our stories are worth and value. Your story is worth of value. There's a lot of things going on the planet, and it's tumultuous in your mind, but you are here at this appointed time to share your skills, to share your gifts, to share your talents, to share your knowledge, to share your information, to share your story righteously with the planet. The world will be made better. The universe will be made better because you are here. And the introduction of that is your story.
Yes, sir.
So find those means to be able to share your story. And if you want to be one of those 1 million, right? I think our dear brother asked for 10,000 fearless. You know, I want 1 million fearless. Let's go.
Yes, sir.
I'm saying. So we're looking for 1 million fearless, 1 million righteous, 1 million strong, 1 million of us that are audacious enough and bold enough to be able to share their stories with us and trusting us with its authenticity and its proper handling and its proper dissemination and distribution. So buying these ebooks helps to fund this process.
Yes, sir.
So it's an investment. That's an investment in it. Each person who invests this month, they get a pictorial image flyer with their likeness, an opportunity to come on our platform, Do Knowledge Radio, for an interview, and in the credits of the pilot and the subsequent docu-series, you'll see your name in the credits as a supporter, as an investor, as a contributor. So, you know, the saga continues. Understand what I'm saying? The saga continues. So, share your story, tell your story, document your story, and let's be on the right side of history in regards to who we are and who we are becoming. So, again, Crown Prince, thank you. Honest to you, love to you, and your divine royal family for this time.
Thank you, brother.
And they can find me, Do Knowledge Radio, Knowledge Born Alive, anywhere on the world of social media. And, you know, let's connect, let's build, and let's get your story told authentically by someone who lives for the opportunity to celebrate you.
Thank you so much, brother. Again, this is Prince's Power Hour podcast, but you know we not going to stay within the hour when our dear brother Knowledge is on the scene, but rightfully so. For you to come on and share this with our audience, brother, we're so eternally grateful, and we're eternally grateful for the work that you have done, that you are doing, and by Allah's permission, by the Creator's will, that you will continue to do. So may He bestow upon you soundness of mind, strength and health, the necessary resources to continue on in this valiant fight that you are waging against the enemy, against the dissenters of truth and those who seek to disunify the militant and Messianic black masses, man. I thank you so much for all that you do. To my listening audience, I thank you for all of those who had commented and shared their beautiful words with us. It's something that we do not take lightly. We appreciate everyone who has viewed and everyone who will view in the future. Again, we were on a little hiatus, but I think my brother got me back in the spirit. I need to get back on again. So my schedule is changing. And so I pray that I will be able to do it soon. So thank you again for your time, your consideration. We thank our ancestors for those who have given their lives so that we could be here in this day and time and do the work that we're doing. And all honor and praise goes to the creator of the heavens and the earth. I thank you so much for listening. I leave you as me and my brother had greeted you at the beginning in the words of peace. Shalom alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you.